All right, this is pretty funny. Last night, Donald Trump went to the Kennedy Center to see the musical Les Miserables, and he was repeatedly publicly humiliated. At one point, he was even booed to his face at the Kennedy Center, which he has spent months trying desperately to twist into a nexus of MAGA cultishness. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as I said, Trump, one of his many attempts to assert himself into the federal government and remake the federal government and anything the federal government touches in his own image is the Kennedy Center. Now, the Kennedy Center is kind of like this bastion of the arts. They do the Kennedy Center Honors every year where they induct, major players in pop culture, music, theater, actors. They do presentations. They have tributes to them. They have performances there. As a matter of fact, you all should definitely watch the 2012 Kennedy Center Honors because the rock band Heart does a cover of Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven in front of Led Zeppelin. It's one of the best moments. But anyway, Donald Trump has been working aggressively to reshape the Kennedy Center in his image because you got to remember, Donald Trump is a Hollywood pop culture guy. He was a reality TV star, right? He loves that world, even though that world hates him. And so despite his best efforts, despite replacing the people on the board and who governs and administrates the Kennedy Center, the best he can get when he goes is a mixed reaction. Yes, there are cheers, but there are also loud boos. He was booed to his face last night. Take a look at this clip. So I love that. Now, of course, MAGA will say, well, there were cheers there too. Yeah, but the whole point is Trump still got booed in a turf that he is desperately trying to remake as his own turf. It'd be like going home to your family and 50% of the people in your family give you the finger as soon as you walk through the door, right? It's not exactly an encouraging sign. So we got some other clips as well. Again, for context, Trump is going to see Les Miserables, Les Mis, which is a musical adaptation of Victor Hugo's novel Les Miserables. Victor Hugo is, of course, the guy who wrote The Hunchback of Notre Dame, all right? Celebrated writer. And I can't wait for you to see one clip where Trump has asked some Les Mis trivia and, who he identifies with more. We'll get to that. But in this first clip, just pay attention to the audio. The audio and video sync is off in this clip. It should be good for the others. But Trump has asked all sorts of questions about all sorts of topics.
Say it again. Yes, a question from Newsmax. Could you provide an update on Iran? We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are being, we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, are you worried?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simply. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple.
Mr. President.
So there, Trump has asked about a situation which we briefly touched on in last night's Live and Learn, the live stream I do every week, which is that Israel is reportedly preparing to attack Iran. Okay. Now, again, we don't talk a lot about foreign policy here. We tend to focus on domestic issues, but this would be a major setback for Trump, given that he's told everybody he's the president of peace and there are going to be no foreign conflicts on his watch, even though there certainly were the first time around, and there are currently still foreign conflicts on his watch now. But that would be a big deal if the U.S. were somehow implicated or involved in, Israeli-Iran violence, right? Especially because Israel's a nuclear power, Iran is trying to become a nuclear power, and they have a pretty formidable military for that area, so it could be bad for Israel as well, which is an ally of the United States. Like, the whole thing could be a total disaster. As Trump is trying to effectively get us back into President Obama's Iran nuclear deal, the JCPOA, which Donald Trump shredded in the first place. And before I play the next clip, I just want to put this out there. I want Donald Trump to succeed in making a deal with Iran, which puts the likelihood of Iran developing nuclear weaponry off the table. But I'm not going to give him credit for that deal if all that deal is what President Obama did in the Obama administration, because that was a good deal under the Obama administration, and Donald Trump stupidly destroyed that deal. And so I'm not going to give a grown man who happens to be president of the United States credit for knocking over a glass of milk and letting the milk just stay there on the counter and then 3 days later coming back to try to wipe it up with a paper towel. You're not going to really get credit for that. So the only way I'm going to give him credit is if he does something a hell of a lot better than Obama's deal, which makes us even safer than Obama's deal did. So, and I would encourage you to do the same. Do not give Trump credit for simply desperately undoing the stupid shit he did years ago, which people begged him not to do. He either needs to deliver in a big way or, otherwise, if he just puts us back to where Obama had us, that's good. That's better than nothing, but he shouldn't get any credit for it. He should just be mocked for, oh, wow. So you stupidly got rid of the Obama-Iran nuclear deal, the JCPOA, and you put us back in there. Thank God President Obama, who is infinitely superior to you in all ways, had the wisdom to do this in the first place, and you should kiss Obama's ass for his superiority and your failure to recognize that good deal. That's how you should treat Donald Trump in this. But I digress. We have other clips to see, including this one.
The deficit was cut in half over a period of 2 months. We cut what they tried to destroy our country. They were destroying our country. And you saw how good the numbers were. We took in $88 billion in tariffs in 2.5 months, and that we didn't even start yet. No, we're bringing the country back fast, and I'm very proud to have helped Los Angeles survive. Los Angeles right now, if we didn't do what we did, would be burning to the ground. And that's not over yet.
No evidence of that whatsoever. All the evidence seems to point that Trump escalated things, made matters worse. You have the chief of the LAPD saying we are nowhere near needing the National Guard. This idea that we were looking for the National Guard at this point is insane, contradicting Trump. It is due to the efforts of state and local leaders and responsible protesters who comprise the vast majority of protesters in Los Angeles. It's because of them that Los Angeles is not on fire. But Trump predictably tries to take credit for it. Here's another clip.
What are you expecting to get a deal with next?
Well, we're dealing with Japan, we're dealing with South Korea, we're dealing with a lot of them. We're dealing with about 15 countries, but as you know, we have about 150 plus, and you can't do that. So we're going to be sending letters out in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, to countries, telling them what the deal is, like I did with EU.
And are you happy with the EU right now? You were unhappy with them about 10 days ago.
Well, I'll let you know in about a week. They do want to negotiate.
So he's having to send letters out to these other countries begging them for deals, which indicates that they're not breaking down the door to provide deals with him in the first place. We're supposed to have 90 deals in 90 days, not 90 tweets about deals in 90 days. And right now we're 90 off. There is no ink to paper, any sort of trade agreement. Well, the United Kingdom, no, that not even that. There was a press conference about the framework of a trade deal, and the details of that deal are still being negotiated. Trump recently talked about how he has a deal with China. Again, this is uncorroborated. There's no evidence of that, and based on the reporting, the initial reporting of the deal, even the Wall Street Journal and National Review are calling him out for it. These are pro-Trump outlets, conservative outlets, who think that he's totally shit the bed on this. So again, he's recognize that he has overpromised and will predictably underdeliver. So we'll see what happens. But here's another clip.
Maybe so quiet, Jeff.
I have a my question is on trade. Would you be willing to extend the deadline for trade talks with these countries?
I would, but I don't think we're going to have that necessity. We made a great deal with China. We're very happy with it. We have everything we need, and we're going to do very well with it, and hopefully they are too.
So his own Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, testified before Congress yesterday saying he's pretty sure that the deadline, the Liberation Day deadline, will indeed have to be extended. So this is a case of the right hand not knowing what the left is doing, and Donald Trump is an inveterate, unparalleled liar, so you can't take his words at face value. This is the mess that we're in. This is part of the market anxiety that Donald Trump is unpredictable in the worst possible way, which makes it very difficult to reliably invest capital for companies in this country and reliably invest in the stock market as well. This is just, it's a mess of his own making, and I think he's working overtime to try to lower expectations, so you'll grade him on a curve. Do not grade him on a curve. He promised you 90 deals in 90 days repeatedly, and if he doesn't deliver, he should suffer political consequences, him and his party, in the next midterm elections.
President, what did the regime...
We're not going to allow that.
Mr. President, can you tell us a question on the musical? Have you seen the musical before, and do you identify more with Jean Valjean or Javert?
Oh, that's a tough one. That last part of that question, that's tough. I think you better answer that one, honey. I don't know. I've seen it. We've seen it a number of times. It's fantastic. I thought it was just about our first choice. That's what we got.
This is why I find that so funny. That was a question about Les Miserables, all right? And to me, it just reeks of when people ask Trump any sort of, like, Trump, I know everything about everything. You know, nobody knows tariffs better than me. Nobody knows economics more than me. Nobody knows, military strikes more than me. Like, he always presents himself in the most clumsily blatant terms as the foremost expert. He's a polymath. He's a polymath of, like, you know how Leonardo da Vinci was like an expert in multiple fields? It's called a polymath, right? Trump is the polymath of polymaths, according to Trump. But then when you ask him about a specific thing, he's like unable to give any sort of like coherent specifics. So again, Les Mis, right? He says he's seen it multiple times. He loves it. I love it. Know so much about it. Okay, well, the primary characters, Javert, the inspector chasing Jean Valjean, right? The convict who's the protagonist of the story is trying to seek redemption, and Jean Valjean is the law and order obsessed inspector who's more concerned with the letter of the law than the spirit of the law, is chasing him down. And Trump has no answer about that. Sounds like you just don't know what the hell the play is about or who the characters are. So he does what he does. He did what he did when, this was, I think, maybe his first attempt at running for office. So like, which, he won, but he was at some sort of religious conference and he was talking to some religious leaders, some like pastors, ministers. They were clergy of some sort, right? And they were like, Mr. Trump, it's very obvious that you love God and, you have a deep passion for the Bible. Would you mind telling us, sir, what your favorite Bible verse is? And you can just see in a split second, and Trump was much sharper then than he is now. Just the emotions, the micro expressions play across Trump's face where he's like, fuck. Oh, why are you asking me this piece of trivia? Why are you asking me this? It's the teacher asking the student a specific question about the book that he's supposed to do the book report about. And it's actually a pretty basic question, right? And Trump is like, it's just deeply personal. I couldn't possibly give you a favorite Bible verse because like every word in the Bible is just so sacred and important to me. Like, I couldn't possibly. And they kept pushing because these morons, these unbelievable idiots, like some people are convinced that they were trying to like just expose Trump for the, Pharisee, the hypocrite that he is, excuse me. And I don't think so. I think these idiots genuinely believed that the most unchristlike person they've ever encountered in public life, because he was a Republican, and Republicans have been long seen as a proxy for practicing Christians. I would quibble that there's a huge misalignment between Republican strategies and Republican policy and the teachings of Christ, but I digress. There's been a long relationship for decades between the Republican Party and practicing Christians or evangelical Christians. And I think they just saw what they wanted to saw, is confirmation bias. So he's the Republican. He says he believes in God. Ergo, he must be a learned, studious person. He must be a devout Christian and reader of the Bible. So when he says, to get out of the question, I don't know, they think he's just being humble, and so they keep. It's so funny. You guys should go back and watch it. It's so embarrassing that like I get secondhand embarrassment for it. It's hard to watch because Trump is so painfully floundering in moments like that. But yeah, I get the same sort of energy here, which is that Trump just doesn't pay attention whatsoever. I want to show you one last clip. There are other clips I could show you, but I'm going to show you one last clip to wrap this up, and that is again Trump saying that he saved lives in Los Angeles.
There, and we stopped tremendous destruction and death. We stopped death. We stopped a lot. And if you look at them cutting up and breaking up the sidewalk and getting it and using it as a weapon, did you see that with the curb? Where they're breaking up the curb, nice curb, and they break it up with a hammer because they couldn't get the bricks in.
So he has repeatedly said that Gavin Newsom was causing death and destruction, and Donald Trump, saved and stopped it. But that's absurd. There have been no deaths reported in relation to the LA protests, and that's not to say that there couldn't be down the road, but there are certainly not now. And I said that would be our last clip, but I'm going to play one more because, again, just his lies are so frustrating that they need to be covered.
We have what we have is a situation in Los Angeles that was caused by gross incompetence. They didn't have the police to handle it. The police were asking us to come in. They were very late. We had to go in to save a lot of ICE officers, as you know, who were held up. They were holed up in a building, and they were being attacked. And the military went in, the National Guard went in and got them. The police weren't able, unfortunately, to move fast enough, but we moved fast enough. And while we were there, we stayed there, and we stopped tremendous destruction and death. We stopped death. We stopped a lot. What we have is...
Yeah, so I was, and I'm going to find it real quick. I should have had it pulled up, but this clip is so frustrating. The LAPD, the chief of the LAPD, just totally contradicted Trump on that. Here's the article. Here's a article about it. This idea that the police were asking him to come in. LAPD chief calls BS on Trump's claim that the cops asked for him to call the troops. The chief of the Los Angeles Police Department has shot down Trump's claim that he asked the president to send in the National Guard to help control immigration protests in the city. Speaking to CNN's The Source with Caitlin Collins, LAPD chief Jim McDonnell said the department, quote, was not in a position, quote, to make such a request, and they were, quote, nowhere near the stage where such action would be necessary. So Donald Trump is once again full of shit. And yeah, there you have it. Trump humiliating himself with lies, deceit, and embarrassing non-answers to questions before being booed to his face at a place that he has desperately tried to shift to transform into a nexus of MAGA cultishness. So in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.